Hello everyone, this is Catherine Donovan, and I'm going to do another review, but it's not going to be Mr. CreepyPasta or Mr. Nightmare. It's going to be Kitten Reads Horror. She's been telling a lot of great stories, but also this is another one of Mr. CreepyPasta, his take on Jane the Killer, and featuring Kitten Reads Horror as the well-known Jane. Okay. I absolutely adore Kitten Reads Horror now. The way she told the story of Jane the Killer's point of view, or Jane Arkansas, it's just so fascinating to listen to the point of view of a person. It's just so grand. So it all started when Jane was waking up from sleep and realized she had to go to school. Her mother scolds at her, and as Jane was about to get out the door, she was confronted by these three bullies. The three bullies tried to advance on her, but Jane decided to take it out on the new kids, Jeff and his brother Lou. So the bullies leave her alone, and Jane witnesses Jeff beating up the bullies. Jane was so terrified that she ran back inside her house, and she made up an excuse, so her mom drove her. Jane never mentioned this to anybody of what she saw. However, she noticed that Jeff was acting weird at school. He was smiling about what he did. That's when Jane realized Jeff was nothing more than just a freak. At lunch, Jane was talking with her best friend, Melissa. But Jane wasn't in the mood to talk. She was just too shocked and too distracted by the thoughts of Jeff. Melissa teased her on it, but Jane rebuked her. However, Melissa said, "Fine, let me know if he's cute," she said. However, Jane thought her best friend was pretty annoying with all of that, trying to get in on her business. It wasn't until Jane encountered Jeff, and Jane was known to be a good girl, wanting to help people. So Jane went up to Jeff, who was preoccupied with whatever. Jane was trying to talk to Jeff, but he never responded. So Jane ranted, saying she was sorry about what happened to Lou, and she wanted to be here for him if he ever needed a friend. Jeff didn't say anything, but when he did, he thanked Jane, but he claimed that he was having a bit of a hard time. Understandingly, Jane said, "I get it. If you need her, But she noticed that Jeff was walking away. Jane thought nothing more of it. It was until Saturday she was trying to do homework. She left the window open, but then she heard noisy kids out. It was Billy's birthday party, so Jane decided to watch the kids play out. But Jane couldn't help but feel amused, seeing how ridiculous Jeff was as he was playing with the children. She thought it was so funny, but it was also a cute sight. However, the bullies returned. They wanted to get their revenge against Jeff, and Jeff managed to fight back, but things got violent. You know the story about Jeff's background story. So anyway, Jane went there to help, and she called 911, explaining what was going on. However, when she got there, she was shocked to see Jeff was burning. And she cried out, "Jeff, what the?" F. Trying to be a good person, Jane visited Jeff. He was all bandaged, and she pretty much stayed by his side, trying to be a good friend and all. However, Jane encountered Jeff's mother. The mother was kind enough to see that Jane came to help and thanked her for it. She also recommended that she comes over for dinner. Jane nodded. She would like that. Come by and say hello and maybe hang out. But Jane managed to find out that Jeff actually killed his entire family. It was until then Jane was so distraught. Jane's best friend Melissa was teasing her as usual, but Jane snapped at her. It was until then Jane blamed herself and wondered if it was her fault. However, Melissa was shocked to hear her friend say that and claimed it was never her fault. She even was being nice to her. Even though Melissa was annoying, Jane was lucky to have Melissa as a best friend. Since that tragedy, and also Jane being so close to Melissa, however, Jane had to move away into a new place. She managed to make some new acquaintances and found really a nice comfort here, just like Jeff did. And this is the intense part that really piqued my interest. Jane wanted to forget. She wanted to forget about what Jeff did and even him, but she couldn't get him out of her head. It was that night Jane had a dream about Jeff talking to her. Oh man, Mr. CreepyPasta playing as Jeff was so good. He was like, "You're just like me, aren't you? You don't hurt people, you help them. Think of what you could do, Jane, what we could do. You just need a little push to get your courage. After all, what are friends for?" God, that was so intense. And then Jane wakes up to the sound of lightning. She cursed at herself for that stupid dream she had. So she decided to go and get something to drink, like a glass of water. But as she made her way, she thought she could hear something. She called out to her parents. But as she approached even closer, she encountered someone with a ghastly looking grin on his face. It was Jeff. He knocked her out, and when Jane woke up, she was distraught to see a bloodbath and she was tied up. Jeff had killed Jane's parents, and he was planning on burning Jane alive. Oh my God, Kitten Reads Horror, the way she plays Jane, and when Jane was so distraught and begging Jeff to let her go. Oh man, that was so good. Just so amazing. Anyway, so Jane begged Jeff to be let go and claimed that they are the same. It was just the same as the dream. But Jeff wasn't even interested, asking, "I'm sorry, who are you again?" Jane was shocked and said, "I'm important. However, Jeff only said his infamous words as he struck the match and said, "Go to sleep," and set the blaze on fire, leaving Jane to die. Jeff left the house, laughing away. Jane couldn't escape. She was being tied down and she thought she would die. But the bounds of the rope and the fire, she managed to break away from her bounds. She had to get out of there, but she couldn't. It was until then she heard a voice calling to her. Jane begged to whoever it was to help her. However, she was going to do whatever it takes to take down Jeff. Whatever it takes to take him down. It was until then Jane emerged from the fire. Her beautiful hair was black. Her scars were nowhere in sight, but her skin glowed of white. Her lips were black and glossy. She wore a beautiful black dress, and her eyes were dark. She walked out of the fire, and she looked beautiful. Absolutely stunning. But Jane had to make her emotional reunion with Melissa, who was surprised to see her. She claimed, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to come here until the summer." But Jane was emotional. It was until then Melissa noticed that Jane's skin looked different. And Jane was so emotional that she killed her own best friend, saying, "Don't go to sleep. You won't wake up." At the beginning, it was shared that it was Melissa's parents who were distraught. The mother was crying and explaining that Melissa was killed. But they thought it was Jeff, but it was only Jane. Oh man. I know this is supposed to be about Kitten Reads Horror, but it all came from Mr. CreepyPasta's channel. But I feel like Kitten Reads Horror did a really good job on playing Jane. Like the emotion, the passion, everything. Oh my god, she did so good. I am truly and erratically impressed. So, Kitten, if you're listening to this, I just want to tell you, you rock, girl. Keep up with the good work. Thank you. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant. So, yeah. See you guys next time.